The night Arya Hale's life changed forever didn't begin with thunder. It began with silence. The kind of silence where the city seems to hold its breath, waiting. Arya had stayed late at the small clinic where she worked part-time, finishing paperwork no one else. You're too kind, Arya. Too soft. Too willing to help. They didn't know her softness was armor. They didn't know kindness was the only thing she had left. She stepped outside, hugging her sweater tighter around her, the winter chill biting at her skin. Shadows across the nearly empty parking lot. And then, she heard it. A low, broken groan, not the sound of someone drunk or annoyed, but the raw, helpless sound of a person fighting for life. Arya's heart seized. She followed the sound, her shoes tapping across the pavement. Each step slower until she saw him. Man lay on the ground beside a black SUV whose windows were shattered, its doors flung open as if oaked in blood, dark, heavy. Terrifying, Arya froze, for one heartbeat. Two. Then her instincts took over. She knelt beside him, hands trembling but purposeful. "Sir? Hey, can you hear me?" No answer, only shallow, ragged breaths. His chest rose unevenly. His skin was cold. Too cold. Without thinking, Arya grabbed her phone to call an ambulance. But a hand, slick with blood, shot out and grabbed her wrist. Her breath caught, his voice was barely a whisper. "Barely human, don't call them." Arya swallowed hard. "You need help. You're dying." His grip tightened. "No, please, don't let them find me." And then his hand fell away, limp. Arya stared at him, her pulse thundering in her ears. The normal choice would have been to run. To hid, but Arya Hale was not normal. She tore open her bag, pulling out gloves, bandages, anything she could use. But the bleeding, it was too much. Too fast. Hospital. He needed blood now. Minutes later, Arya burst through the clinic's back door, dragging him with every ounce of strength. Doctors rushed in. What happened? "Stab wound, massive blood loss, just get him inside." The next chaos-filled minutes blurred. Bright lights, frantic hands, machines beeping. "His blood type is AB negative. We don't have enough." Arya didn't hesitate. "I'm AB negative. Take mine." The doctor stared at her. "Arya, we can't. Your body can't handle a high-volume transfer. He'll die." She shouted, "Take my blood." And that was how it happened. How her blood flowed into the veins of a stranger. How her life became tied to his. As she lay on the second bed, her vision blurring, she caught one last glimpse of him. Dark hair matted with blood, a strong jawline, a face both terrifying and beautiful. Man who looked like he'd come from a world far too dangerous for someone like her. Just before everything went black, she heard him breathe, just barely. A single sentence that chilled her to the bone. "Protect. The girl." Not a thank you. Not who is she. Just an order, a warning, a promise. Arya didn't know it then. But the man she had saved was not simply a stranger. He was Damien Vale, billionaire, CEO. Shadow King of the city. The most dangerous. Mafia boss alive, and now her blood ran in his body. Her fate was tied to his. Forever. Arya woke, too. The soft beeping of machines and a dull ache in her arm where the IV had been. Her aisle reached inside her and taken everything warm. For a moment, she wasn't sure where she was. Then she remembered. The bleeding. Man, the clinic lights. Her blood flowing into him, his voice broken. But commanding. Protect the girl. Arya sat up slowly, heart racing. She wasn't harmed. She wasn't kidnapped. She was safe in the clinic. Electric. Like danger had seeped into the wall, she swung her legs over the side of the bed and froze. There were men outside the room. Not doctors. Not nurses. Tall men. Broad. Dressed in black suits that didn't belong to any hospital security. They stood with him, eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. Even indoor, her stomach dropped. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. A nurse slipped inside, nearly jumping when she realized Arya was awake. "Oh, Arya, you should be resting." "What's going on?" Arya whispered. "Who are those men?" The nurse hesitated, too long. Her eyes flicked to the door as if she feared being overheard. "They said they're here for the patient you brought in." Arya blinked. "He survived?" "Yes." The nurse swallowed. "Barely. The transfusion saved his life." "Your blood saved his life. Arya let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. An impossible relief washed through her. Sad expected the worst, and those men? She asked again, softer. That's his security detail, I think. They arrived minutes after he stabilized. The nurse leaned, searched the entire clinic. Every room. They team me? Arya's voice cracked. Yes. They asked for your full name. Your shift schedule, where you lived. What? Arya stood too fast, lightheaded but determined. Why would they want that? The nurse shook her head nervously. I don't know, Arya, but they're not normal security. They're IAs if on cue the men outside shifted. Not much, but enough to make her skin crawl. Arya forced herself to breathe. Slow, quiet, controlled. She walked past the nurse, easing the door open just a crack to peek outside. Immediately, one of the men turned his head toward her. Not a full turn, just enough for her to see the precise angle of his attention, the instant focus of their eyes. Met for half a heartbeat, Arya shut the door quickly. Okay, she whispered. That's not normal. She dressed, ignoring the weakness in her legs, and gathered her things. Her instincts screamed at H of control. When she stepped into the hallway, the suited men didn't move, but they watched her, every step, like Arya forced herself not to run. Outside, the cold air hit her lungs like ice. The city felt louder than usual, more dangerous. She was at a bus stop, but she didn't make it far. At the corner across from the clinic, a black car idled, windows tinted, engine humming. She felt a chill ran down her spine. Were they following her or guarding her? Arya didn't know. She only knew one thing. The man she saved wasn't done with her, and whoever he was, he had already changed the world around. Her Arya's shift the next day felt wrong from the moment she walked into the clinic. The staff whispered in corners, like silent shadows. Everyone avoided her eyes, but no one explained anything. By noon, Arya felt suffocated. Every instinct told her she was being watched. Every step felt like as she clocked out early, ignoring the nurse who tried to stop her. She needed air, distance, normalcy. She needed her tiny apartment, cramped and warm with mismatched thrift store furniture, where nothing but that night. As she approached her building, her breath hitched. A limousine was parked at the curb, not a modern one, but an old, obsidian black stretch limo with bulletproof plating and tinted windows that reflected to sea in old mafia films, driven by men whose name Arya. As Pulse stumbled, the car door opened. A man stepped out, tall, built like armor wrapped in a suit. His eyes found her instantly. Sharp and Arya Hale, he said, voice deep, accented with something foreign. You will come with us. Her feet froze to the pavement. No, she managed, breath shallow. I'm not going anywhere. Who are you? The man didn't blink. A debt is owed. Her stomach nodded. What debt? He stepped closer, his presence swallowing the space between them. You saved a life that was not me. Arya backed away. I don't owe anyone anything. I did what any decent human would. No, his tone cut sharp as steel. You did what no one else could. The rear window of the limo slid down. Arya's breath stopped. Inside, a man sat in the shadows, his silhouette unmistakable. Broad shoulders wrapped in a dark sweave watch. A figure that commanded silence by simple. He lifted a hand, gesturing calmly, and the guard bowed. Arya stared, every nerve in her body. Screaming, no face, no voice, just a presence that suffocated the air around him. Man too dangerous to see in the light. Man who had lived because her blood kept him alive. She swallowed hard. I want to go home. The guard opened the rear door wider. He wishes to speak with you. Then he can come out, she whispered. He cannot. His tone softened only slightly. He is recovering. But he insists on meeting you. Tonight. Arya hesitated. She could run, fight, scream. But something deep inside her whispered the truth. If they wanted to take you by force, they already would have. Her legs trembled as she stepped forward. Inside the limo, warm light glowed from small overhead lamps, illuminating polished leather seats, and the door shut behind her with a soft but final click. The man in the shadows moved, slightly, and his voice, low, roughened, still healing, filled the space. You shouldn't be afraid, Arya Hale. Her name sounded different when he said it, like it belonged to a world far bigger than hers. She pressed her back into the seat. Who are you? Silence stretched. Then, you saved my life. he said softly. Now I will explain the cost. Her breath trembled. Cost, not gratitude, not relief. A cost. Outside. The limo began to move, gliding into the night like a dark omen. Arya's fingers dug into her lap as she whispered, "Where are you taking me?" The man answered without hesitation, "To collect a debt." The limousine slid through the city like a silent predator, its tinted windows swallowing the glow of her lap, trying to track every turn, every change. But there was none. Not with the man beside her. Not with the guards. In front. Not with the world outside disappearing into a horizon she didn't recognize. The stranger, her stranger, remained half in shadow, his face hidden, his voice smooth but edged with command. "You saved me," he said. "And because of that, your life has changed in ways you cannot yet understand." Arya swallowed hard. "I didn't ask for anything. I don't want anything. I just need to go home." "You will," he replied. "But not until you know the truth." The city's high-rises thinned, replaced by quiet streets, old architecture, wrought iron gates, the revealing a mansion so massive, so darkly regal. Arya's breath hitched. This wasn't wealth. This was power. The car came to a stop, and 2 guards opened the doors. Arya stepped out into cold night air. Starry the mansion rose like a fortress, windows tall and blackened. Stone walls crowned with intricate steins and luxury had built it together. Inside, the floors gleamed marble, the walls lined with art she didn't dare look too closely at. Eve secrets. And at the end of one long corridor, double doors swung open, quiet, slow, ceremonial. "Enter," the stranger murmured behind her. Arya stepped through. The room was breathtaking. Dark wood, shelves of leather-bound books, a fireplace burning low. A desk behind it stood a figure she hadn't seen clearly. The man she saved. He stood tall, injuries still visible beneath the open collar of his shirt. Bandages peeked from Bencher was steady. Powerful, but every movement carried his eyes found her instantly, and Arya felt something she couldn't name punch straight through her chest. Those eyes, dark, sharp, unyielding, looked at her as if he already knew her deepest secrets. "Arya Hale," he said quietly. "We meet properly this time." She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming, commanding the room like gravity itself. "My name," he continued, "is Damien Vale." The name hit her like a strike. Damien Vale, the billionaire, CEO, hidden from cameras. The man the news whispered about. The ghost who owned half the city. The devil investors feared. The Shadow King, the underground, worshipped. Her knees weakened. "You," her voice cracked. You're the Damien Vale?" His lips twitched in something not quite a smile. "I see you've heard of me." Arya stumbled back a step. "Why was your security following me? Why bring me here?" Damien studied her, slow and deliberate. "Because you saved the life of a man. People have been trying." She flinched. "And those people," he added softly, "will not hesitate to hunt anyone connected to me. Including Yo." Her blood ran cold. Damien moved closer, and for the first time, Arya noticed the weakness in his stance. "The subtle wint you did not just save a stranger," he said quietly. "You saved the most dangerous man in the city." Arya shook her head, panic rising. "I don't want your world." Damien's gaze darkened. "I know." He lifted his hand, lightly tracing the bandage beneath his shirt where her blood kept him alive. "But my world wants you now." Arya didn't want to sit, didn't want to breathe, didn't want to believe any of this was real, but Damien Vale stood only a few feet away, and reality bent around him like gravity. Dangerous, inescapable, undeniable. He gestured toward a chair beside the fireplace. "Sit, Arya." "I'd rather stand," she whispered. His eyes didn't soften, but something in his voice did. "You're trembling." She was, trembling so hard she thought her bones might shake apart. Damien exhaled, slow, controlled, a man constantly battling storms only he could see. "You're safe here." Arya laughed under her breath, a small broken sound. "You kidnapped me." "I escorted you," he corrected. "Your safety was compromised." "I never asked for your protection." "You never asked to save me either," he replied quietly, and the room fell still. Silence spread between them, thick. Charged, suffocating, Arya looked away, toward the fire, its flames reflected in the polished floor. Why would anyone come? You know enough, Damien said. You were there. You saw me bleeding out. You gave me your blood. Mightying. Did you? His gaze lowered. Not in any way that matters. Arya didn't know what that meant. She only knew her entire life had been swallowed by something. Monty walked to the massive window overlooking the mansion grounds. Guards patrolled below, silent. Core, I have enemies who have tried to kill me for years. They failed because I am prepared. Because my MA pause. But when you stepped into my life, you became an unexpected variable. A shiver ran through her. I don't want to be a variable. Damien turned his head slightly, eyes shadowed. You want normalcy, simplicity, safety. Yes, she whispered. That, he said, is exactly why you cannot go home. Arya took a shaky step backward. No, Arya, no. Her breath broke. You don't get to decide that. I'm not part of your world. I'm not part of ye kind, Damien finished softly. Too kind for a world like mine. Her chest tightened painfully. He crossed the room in slow, measured steps, careful, controlled, as if approaching a wild creature. Arya Hale, he murmured. I owe you a debt I can never repay, but I can protect you. I will protect, she stared up at him, overwhelmed by the intensity of his presence, his face, his voice. The quiet, terrifying promise woven into every word. You can't force me to stay here, she whispered. I won't, he said. But you won't go back alone. What does that mean? Damien's jaw tightened. It means you will be assigned protection, 24 hours a day, until I don't need a bodyguard. He stepped closer, his breath warm against her skin. You need 10. Her heart kicked violently. His nearness was too much. Heat and power and something darker. Damien held her gaze, voice low. This world won't show you mercy, but I will. She opened her mouth, but a knock on the door cut through the moment. Boss, a deep voice called. We have movement. South perimeter. Possible recon. Arya froze. Boss. The words struck different now that she'd seen his face. Now that she knew the truth beneath his name. Damien's expression, sharpened instantly. The softness gone, replaced by the cold precision of a man. Deal with it, he ordered. Footsteps retreated. Damien turned back to her, his voice gentled. Again, quiet, impossibly sincere. Please, Arya, let me keep you safe. Her throat tightened, because deep down, beneath the fear, beneath the shock, a part of her believed him, a part of her knew she wasn't safe anymore. Not from his enemies, and not from him. The mansion was quiet that evening, but the air between us felt charged, heavy, almost unbearable. Dee, not as a guest, not as a liability, but as someone he wanted near. Couldn't decide if that terrified me more than the fact that he was a mafia boss, or if it was the... He poured wine without speaking. The clink of glass against glass, the only sound in the massive dini, tailored perfectly, jaw tense, eyes dark and unread. Yet tonight, something was different. A flicker. A momentary softness that betrayed the man beneath the power. Arya, he said, voice low, almost cautious. You've been quiet all evening. I swallowed, unsure if I should answer. I'm just observing. He raised an eyebrow, the corner of his mouth twitching in the faintest smirk. Observing, huh? Like my cheeks warmed. He didn't mock often, and the rare tease cut through my nerves like sunlight through your... Unpredictable, he said, leaning slightly forward. There it was again, the vulnerability, suave. I couldn't help but notice it. The tension in his shoulders had eased ever so slightly. His eyes, Suf, you're not like anyone I've ever met, he murmured, almost to himself. The words hung in the air between us, heavier than the chandelier above. I shifted in my seat, heart. Not everyone, I whispered, needs to be controlled. He froze, his dark eyes locked onto mine, pupils dilated, a storm threatening to break. You, his Weaver heard. You have no idea what you're saying. I met his gaze, unflinching, though my fingers fidgeted with the edge of my napkin. There was something intertwined so tightly, I felt like I might burn. And then he leaned closer, dangerously close, until I could feel the heat radiating from his body. Nothing else, something primal, intoxicating. You think you understand me? He whispered, so softly it brushed my ear. But you don't. Maybe I don't, I admitted, my voice trembling despite myself. But I want to. He froze, his jaw tightening, eyes darkening. His hands rested on the table, fingers curling just an exterior. For a moment, I thought he might reach instead. He leaned back slightly, exhaling, the mask returning to his face. But I had seen the crack in the armor. And in that moment, the forbidden attraction between us ignited, a spark neither of us could deny. A kind of tension that made every glance, every whoa. The room was silent except for the faint clink of silverware. But my mind screamed, this man is Leth Damien Vale. The most dangerous man I had ever met was not just a mafia boss, not just a billionaire of chaos that made my pulse race faster than my own, and I knew, deep down, that this spark, this first forbidden spark, was only the beginning. The night had an edge to it, a sharp, biting chill that made the hairs on the back of my neck rise. I was walking home from work and gnawing at me all week, and then I heard it, a low hum of an engine. Distant at first, growing louder, too fast. Shadows shifted between the street before I could process. A car pulled up, black-tinted windows, engine purring like a predator ready, but I was rooted to the spot. The figures moved quickly, 2 men, dressed in black, masks covering their faces. My heart skipped. My breath hitched. I had no time to react. Metallic click, a gun. I ducked instinctively, but they were faster, closing in. And then I felt it. A presence so sudden, so forceful it made the world blur around me. Arya! The voice tore through the night. Damien. A shadow swept past the attackers, moving faster than my eyes could track. In one fluid motion, he defying. The second turned to flee, but Damien's hand found him, arm twisted, body slammed to the asphalt. That had begun. I stared, frozen, my pulse hammering. He was terrifying. He was unstoppable. He was mine, and yet he turned to me, eyes sharp, calculating, yet something soft flickered within them as he reached out. You should never have been alone. He growled, low and dangerous. I wanted to protest, to argue, but the words caught in my throat as the adrenaline still surged through first time. I felt the full weight of him. Notch's hand rested lightly on my arm, almost brushing but charged with intention. The danger of the neon to mine, it made the world shrink until it was J. Damien. I whispered, voice trembling. Shh, he said, eyes scanning the street. Every muscle coiled. You don't speak. You listen. Understein nodded, unable to move. He stayed close. Too close. The proximity was suffocating, intoxicating, and completely forbidden. Marold, lethal presence. For the rest of the walk back to my apartment, he never let go of my side. Not a single step. Every inch mine, every shift of his body as he subtly peed by the time we reached my door, I was trembling, not from fear anymore, but from the raw tension that you'll be safe. He said quietly, almost softly, but the underlying command in his tone left no root again. Not tonight, not ever if I can help it. I wanted to pull away, tell him I didn't need this, that I could handle myself, but the truth burned. He leaned closer, so close I could feel the heat of his breath, the pull of his presence. My lips paused, forbidden rhythm, and then he stepped back, just enough to remind me of the distance that had to exist between us. Be Caspark, threatening to ignite it, but I knew, even then, that nothing would ever be the same. Damien Vale was too close, too dangerous, and I was falling, dangerously, irresistibly into him. The room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of a single lamp. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with people whose faces looked too serious, too posed. I could feel the tension radiating off him, heavier than any weapon I'd ever encountered. Something Ruth, the truth he had hidden behind wealth, power and danger. I want you to know why I am the way I am, he began, voice low, almost brittle. Why I don't trust in with a flash of something raw, unguarded. Why I took a shallow breath. I want to understand, I said softly. I need to understand. Damien exhaled slowly, like he had been holding the weight of 1,000 nights in his lungs. I was just a boy, naive, hopeful, believing the world was trusted the most. He leaned back, his eyes darkening. I learned early that kindness is a weakness, that mercy is fathoming someone the world would fear. And I did. I swallowed, words failing me. Every fiber of his story, The loss, the violence, the calculated brooder lurking beneath his charm. And now, you, he said, voice breaking the silence like a gunshot. You've shown me something I thought I've never allowed myself to feel. His hand tway. I leaned forward instinctively, drawn to him despite the danger radiating from every line of his bods. They deserve kindness, even the ones who be... He closed his eyes, jaw tightening. You don't understand. In my world, trust is a weapon. Loyalty in who betrays you. If I let someone in, I reached across the table, my hand hovering over his, trembling. And yet here I am, I said softly, in the man I've seen underneath the darkness. His eyes snapped open, blazing with stormy emotion. That's exactly why I can't let you go, he said. It's dangerous for me. For you, for everything. A silence fell, heavy with unspoken words. I understood then that the man sitting across from me was he was a boy shaped by loss. Hardened by V, and I also realized why. From the moment I had touched his blood, he had been both protector and preed with his, and the cost of his world was becomin' for the first time. I saw him, not the Mafia Boss, not the CEO, but the man beneath. The man who had cert, fragile and dangerous, now pulsed faster where Damien Vale had built walls around himself. And for the first time, someone had begun to climb them. And that someone was me. The night air was thick, suffocating, carrying a tension I could feel in my bones. I had been walking wouldn't reach me here. I was wrong. A shadow detached itself from the darkness. 2 more followed. Before I could react, hands grabbed him, struggled, heart hammering, but it was useless. To Damien! I screamed, panic slicing through me. The world blurred as I was thrown into the back of a van. Every bump, every turn made my stomach lurpin with questions. Why me? Who were they? What did they want? And then the silence swallowed me. The next thing I knew, I was being dragged into an unfamiliar room. The blindfold was ripped away, dimly lit, suffused with menace. Shadows shifted, and then I heard it, a low, controlled growl, tin, before I could even cry out again. The door behind me exploded inward. Damien stormed in, moving fast with fury. He was unstoppable, lethal, every move me. The men who held me barely had time to react. One went down with a single twist of Damien's hand. And every strike, every kick, every movement was Phil, and yet, even in his fury, his eyes were searching for me. Aria, he roared, voice echoing off the concrete walls, shaking the very air around us. I stumbled forward, tears streaking my face. Damien? He dropped to his knees in front of me, sweeping me into his arms. His chest heaved, his hands trembly, allowed himself to feel. You're mine, he growled, voice ragged, desperate. Do you understand me? You are mine, and no one. I clung to him, heart pounding. I'm here. I'm safe. He silenced me with a hand on my cheek, thumb brushing across my lips. His forehead pressed to mine, his voice cracked. I can't lose you. Not now. Not he stopped, eyes dark, stormy, vulnerable in a way I had never seen. The walls around him, the armor, I love you, he finally whispered low and raw. And I've hated that I couldn't tell you sooner. My chest ached, a heat spreading through me that had nothing to do with fear. Damien, He captured my lips with his in a kiss that was fierce, needy, and desperate. It wasn't tender. We had buried anger, fear, longing, and desire. All I clung to him, letting myself fall into the chaos, into the danger, into the man beneath the legend. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against mine, breaths ragged, hearts racing in sync. You're mine, he repeated, softer now, almost pleading. And I will never let anyone, ever... I pressed my hand to his chest, feeling the strength, the power, and the vulnerability all at once. And in that warehouse, surrounded by shadows and violence, we discovered something undeniable. Something the night had changed everything, not just because of the threat, or the danger, or the enemies that lurked in the dark, but because Damien had finally allowed himself to feel, and I had finally allowed myself to fall. The villa was isolated, perched on a cliff where the ocean crashed against jagged rocks below. Waves relentless. Damien brought me here in silence. You're safe here, he said finally, voice low, almost a growl. No one will touch you. No one will. I wanted to believe him. I needed to, but the fear still clung to me, a shadow I couldn't shake. The villa was luxurious but stark, its vast rooms echoing with emptiness. Damien guided me through protective. Every glance he shot over H, a reminder that danger was never far. Even here, he stopped in front of a guest suite. "You'll stay here," he said, his hand brushing the small of my "don't open it for anyone." I nodded, my voice caught in my throat. I could barely breathe when he leaned closer, so close that I whispered. He tilted his head, eyes dark and stormy. "I can't leave you alone, Aria," he admitted, voice rough. The words hung in the air, heavy and dangerous. I wanted to pull back, to remind him of the walls, mature of this attraction, but I couldn't, not when I feel it too, I whispered, stepping closer despite every warning my body screamed. I can't. His breath hitched. For the first time, I saw the vulnerability beneath his cold exterior. The Billy human, fragile, needing, and dangerously. Drawn to Damien's hand cupped my face, thumb brushing over my cheek, a touch that was gentle yet possessive, mirrored, voice rough with emotion. No idea how much I shivered, heart racing, every nerve alive. "Then stop fighting," I whispered. "Stop pretending he didn't hesitate." In one swift motion, he closed the space between us, capturing my lips with his dark. Every ounce of control he'd clung to melted. It wasn't tender. It wasn't cautious. It was desperate, feral, intoxicating, consuming. My fingers told anchor him to me through sheer will. His hands roamed my back, holding me impossibly tight. Every motion deliberate, claiming. The kiss sunded us of everything he could never say aloud. When we finally broke apart, our foreheads pressed together, breaths ragged, hearts racing in sync. "You're mine, Aria, do you understand?" "Mine, and I won't let anything hurt you. Not now, not ever." I pressed my hand to his chest, feeling the tension, the power, the fragility. "I'm yours," I whispered, for the first time. Damien let someone in completely. The walls he had built over years of pain, lost under the weight of something as fragile as the villa, with its endless hallways and towering windows, had become our sanctuary, not just from THF. And in that dark, storm-lashed room, the first real spark of love, dangerous, forbidden and undeniable. The villa was quiet that morning, sun slipping through heavy curtains, painting golden streaks across. I could breathe for a moment, away from the tea, but I wasn't. I had gone to the library, seeking some sense of normalcy, a book to distract my racing mind, and Damien's voice, low and guarded, speaking to someone over the phone. "Yes, her blood. It's the only reason he survived. She doesn't know, and she can never know." My chest froze. The blood drained from my face. I pressed myself against the doorway, listening. I've kept her close, protected her, but I cannot let her forget the role she played. She doesn't ever finds out. His words trailed off, ominous. I stumbled back, staggering into the wall, heart shattering piece by piece. A plan, a role, my blood, my sacrifice, was never just about saving him. Every touch, every look, every closeness we shared. Had it been orchestrated? Had I been nothing moral? I felt the betrayal like a knife twisting in my chest. Every memory, every heartbeat I had shared with, I fled. Running to my room, locking the door behind me. My hands trembled as tears streamed down my heart. And he had hidden this from me all along. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, but time didn't exist. Only the ache of realization, the sting of beater. He knocked on the door eventually. Soft, cautious. "Aria." I didn't answer. The knock came again, firmer this time. "Aria, please." I cut him off, voice trembling but sharp. Don't! Damien's tone changed. There was regret, desperation, something raw beneath the surface. I understand perfectly," I snapped. "You lied. You hid the truth from me. You used me, my blood, into some plan of yours." There was a silence on the other side of the door. Then his voice quieter, broken. "Aria." It wasn't. I shook my head, pressing my hands over my ears as if I could block out his words. "Get out." Leave me. The villa, once a sanctuary, felt suffocating now. Every corner whispered his secrets. Every shadow on the bed, shivering, heartbroken, unable to wreck. And yet, beneath the hurt, a small, stubborn piece of me still remembered the first spark, the stole everything he had. But trust, I realized painfully, was gone. For now. Damien Vale had taken everything from me in that single, horrifying revelation. And I wasn't sure I could ever forgive him. The dawn was gray, heavy with silence that felt like judgment. I packed quickly, hands shaking as I me of the life I'd had or thought I'd shared with Damien. I didn't look back. Not at the villa, not at the city sprawling below, not even at the memories that I could still hear his voice in my mind. You must never know the truth. I had known enough. Outside the streets were waking. The sun struggled through the clouds, pale light illuminating the dinery anymore. Not after Damien, not after Betray. Meanwhile, across the city, Damien was awake. I knew. I could feel it, even miles away. He had lost followed, cars burned, sirens screamed, shadows moved with lethal precision. Enemies, long hidden, suddenly foe. And he was everywhere, powerful. Unstoppable, I imagined him. Dark eyes blazing, fists tight, rage spilling into the streets. He had never looked lethal, impossible to stop when provoked. I wanted to go back. My legs ached to run to him, to beg him to stop, to come home, but I couldn't. Like nothing. I had given mattered except what the day passed in a blur of taxis and train stations, hotel rooms and empty streets. I stared out there, wreaking havoc. Tearing down anything by nightfall, the phone rang. I didn't answer. Messages came. Short, frantic. Arya. Please, Arya, I need you. Arya, don't leave me. I didn't respond. Every time I tried to sleep, images of Damien appeared in my mind. Not the controlled, calm billionaire when I was kidnapped. The man who had kissed me land yet. Beneath the rage, I knew there was fear. The fear he hid so well, the one that told him lospable. That fear made him devastating. I clenched the blanket, tears staining my pillow. I was angry. I was hurt. I was heartbroken. And Estai wondered if he even felt it. The ache, the emptiness, the hollowness left by my absence. I hoped soft losing him entirely. Somewhere in the city, streets burned. Enemies fell, and Damien Vale's empire shook beneath his ratsit. And I realized, as I lay in that cold hotel bed, that the distance between us was only temporary, nor the chaos he unleashed. We were bound together by danger, by blood, by fire. And when the dust settled, when the streets were quiet again, when the enemies were gone, I knew when to neither of us would survive this. Emotional spiral unscathed, but the storm between us was far from over. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside me. Rain pelted the villa windows, hammering against the ected him to come. Not after everything, the betrayal, the lies, the rage, but the knock at the door was soft, hesitant, almost fragile. Arya, his voice low and raw, cut through the storm. I didn't answer. I stayed where I was, wrapped in the shadows of the room, arms crossed over my chest break in longing. I need you to listen, he said. I can't lose you again. Not like this. I hesitated, fear and desire warring within me. Finally I nodded, signaling him to continue. He stepped closer, eyes dark and unreadable, yet a flicker of vulnerability shone through. I swallowed hard, bracing myself. You didn't just save me that night in the alley, he began, voice trembling slightly despite the Caliph once before. When we were children. I froze. What do you mean? Damien's hands fisted at his sides, jaw tight. I was in the hospital, critically injured. No one remembered a rare blood type, one she had seen years. He took a step closer, eyes never leaving mine. That child was you, Arya. You saved me once as a see me again. This time, with intention. This time. My breath caught. My hands trembled. You're saying I saved you twice? Yes, he said softly, stepping closer until the space between us was almost unbearable. Twice, undected Arya, even before we realized it. Even Bifo tears blurred my vision. The betrayal, the anger, the heartbreak, they collided with the truth, levered. Why hide it all this time? Damien's expression softened, vulnerability breaking through the dark mask he always wore. I won a dull extent of the danger. Not then, not now. I stepped toward him, hesitant, heart pounding. But I did feel used, I admitted. I felt like ever he cupped my face gently, thumb brushing over my cheek. No, he said, voice thick with emotion. Evie moment, it's real. I can't control what my heart, the weight of his words, of the truth, hit me like a tidal wave. I felt the anger melt away, riplicetany. Love, I can't believe it. All this time, I whispered. You don't have to believe it, he murmured, forehead resting against mine. You only have to feel I'd find you again, and I would protect you. All while I pressed my hands against his chest, feeling the rapid thrum of his heart. Then don't let me go, Ag, I won't. he promised, voice breaking. Never again. In that storm-lashed villa, amidst the rain and the shadows, the truth revealed not only why we were bound. We weren't just a chance meeting in an alley. We weren't just savior and survivor. We were destiny. And nothing, no betrayal, no danger, no enemy would ever change that. His city was alive with fire and chaos. Sirens screamed in the distance. Smoke curling into the nigh-held danger. Enemy footsteps, gunfire, shadows that moved with deadly intent. Damien and I moved together. A single unit, hearts pounding, breaths ragged. The rival Mafia had loll-armed and merciless, but we had no choice. Sur Arya, Damien barked over the cacophony, his dark eyes blazing. Stay close. I nodded, clutching the pistol he had pressed into my hands. My hands shook, but my grip was steady. But tonight was different. Tonight it wasn't just gunfire erupted nearby. I ducked behind a crumbling wall as bullets tore through the air. Damien Washin, his every motion controlled, calculated. Unsafe figure appeared from the shadows. A man I had only seen in photographs. One of the rival Mafias took fire. Another attack came from behind. Damien! I screamed. He was thrown violently, crashing against the brick wall. Pain lanced through me. My stomach dropped any ground. I didn't hesitate. Adrenaline surged through my veins. This time I wasn't saving him because I had to. I was saving. I sprinted toward him, weaving through debris, dodging gunfire, my heart hammering in my chest. I reassured to the wound I could see blood seeping through Arya. No, he gasped, eyes darkening, panic flickering in them. The same panic he had tried so hard. I won't let you die, I whispered fiercely. Not this time. This time it's me choosing. Not obliga, he coughed, struggling to speak, but I pressed a finger to his lips. Shh. Save your breath for Fi. I could feel the life draining from him. The dangerous calm in his aura slipping as fear and pain stabilizing, keeping him tethered to life. Once more Damien's eyes met mine. Dark, stormy, filled with a mixture of awe, fear and love. He whispered, "Ho." I pressed my forehead to his, voice trembling but strong. "And I will always save you." If it means Koi, the enemy faltered as Damien regained his strength, his hand steadying his weapon. Together, we rose each choice. Not chance. By the time the dawn crept over the horizon, the streets were silent. The rivals had been defeated, fire smoldered, but we were alive. Damien leaned against me, exhaustion and relief washing over him. "You didn't have to, but you did. I wanted to," I replied softly, heart still racing. "Because I choose you, always." And in that moment, amidst the wreckage and ruin, I realized survival was no longer about fate, destined, choosing loving. The villa was quiet, bathed in the soft glow of morning sunlight filtering through the curtains, the smell of smoke, the faint hum of the ocean. A Damien stood by the balcony, tall, commanding, but there was something different in the curve of his blade and almost died. "And now, for the first time, I'm stepping down," he said quietly, voice low but steady. "The war, the streets, all of it." I blinked, heart pounding. "Done?" He turned, dark eyes meeting mine, softening with something I hadn't dared to hope for. Vulnerability. Done with the enemies. Done with the Empire. Done with everything that would ever appear safe. Somewhere we can breathe together. With a shiver ran through me, not from danger, but from the depth of his words, from the magnitude of what it is that had haunted us. You're serious?" I whispered, trembling. "Deadly serious," he said, stepping closer. His hand brushed against mine, tentative, intimate. I've been trolling, but none of it mattered until I realized I swallowed hard. Memories flooding back. The alley. The blood, the fear, the first spark, the final E had faced together led to this moment. My lips trembled as I finally spoke. "I saved your life, twice." He stepped closer, fingertips brushing my cheek, eyes dark and molten with emotion. "Yes, and every H I need you. But Arya," he swallowed. Voice spray, I smiled through the tears, heart pounding. "Then we're even," I whispered, closing the last inches dare, dark, and filled with the weight of everything. When we finally pulled back, our foreheads pressed together, breath mingling, hearts racing in pursuant this life, he murmured, "If you want me, I choose you." I whispered, voice steady, eyes locking with his. "I saved your life twice. But you," he smiled, dark and warm, pulling me into an embrace that felt like home. For the first time, the wedshed fell away, leaving only us, unbroken, alive. We stood on the balcony together, the city sprawling beneath us, a world of danger left behind. The years, I breathed without fear. And if the world wants war for loving him, I whispered, voice low, addictive, dangerous. Let it, Damien chuckled softly, lips brushing my temple, eyes glinting with mischief and fire. Then let it cause they'll never win. Not against us. The sun rose fully, painting the sky in streaks of gold and crimson. And as we stood together, heart-enemies, but destiny, darkness, and every impossible, we were ours. Only ours. And nothing in the world could take that away. The night has ended, but their story is far from over. Damien and Arya survived the shadows. The Daw proving that love can thrive in the darkest of worlds. If you felt the rush of their forbidden attraction, the thrill of every dangerous heartbeat, and the here, subscribe now and join us for more dark romance tales that will steal your heart. Ignite your Imagi, hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment of passion, suspense, and danger, because love this dark only comes once, remember. In a world full of shadows, love is the most dangerous weapon of all. Subscribe now and step into the darkness with us.